I'm sitting here on Zoom, of course, with Alba Saenz de Villaverde, and Alba is a medicine student at the University of Edinburgh. And Alba also joined us for our UNESCO focus groups to talk about the future of education and the importance of reforming education for the climate crisis. And so I'm really happy to have you come speak with us. How are you doing today?
No, all good. Very happy to be here. So thank you for having me on the Zoom call.
It seems like, I don't know if you're in Edinburgh, but it seems like it's a nice day.
Yeah, no, it is. For once, it's sunny here. So we'll finish the podcast quickly and I'll go off and enjoy the sun.
Yeah. So I'm just going to start with a question that I'm asking all of the attendees, and it's really basic. At least I hope it's basic. But why did you decide to study medicine at the University of Edinburgh? And, did you always have an interest in this, or is this something that you kind of found later as you were, older and finishing high school?
I don't know. For me, I think I was always interested in kind of I would have either gone into medicine or something similar along the lines of being there on the front line, trying to help people. And personally, I've always really liked biology and the environment and people. I find it also interesting, and learning about it has just reinforced that. So I think medicine was the best combination of all the different things you could have. So kind of helping people, but also learning, understanding your body and learning about all different things and how we're interconnected. So that's a brief overview, I guess.
No, that's interesting. Yeah, I guess it's kind of like the bedrock of our lives, essentially, medicine and our health.
I guess so. I don't know. Sometimes I feel it depends how you look at medicine. Sometimes I feel we focus very much on kind of treatment and solving a problem that's there, when in reality medicine should be more about a holistic approach about what we can do to improve our lives and things or at least that's my opinion. So I think if you look at it medicine that way, it is much more about how you lead your life and how everything works together, and kind of, I don't know, the beauty of the human body in a weird way. The more I learn about it, the more I'm wow, how am I still here, and two, I don't know, you feel very precious about your body in a weird way.
This is kind of off topic, but I sometimes have this thought where I'm wow, I have a heart and lungs and kidneys, and I've never seen them.
Yeah, no, it's so weird. So we have an anatomy dissection here at the University of Edinburgh, low-key promoting the uni. But it's actually really weird when you see it for your first time and you're wow, I have something like that inside me that's you're not aware that you're breathing or that your heart is racing, and then you're just wow, sometimes, especially when we were learning about breathing, you sometimes forget and you're oh my god, that you do it subconsciously. It's so cool to think everything that our body does. And I'm guessing vet students have the same issue when they learn about animals, and then they see little squirrels running about and things like that. I don't know, every profession, I think you can always find a higher meaning in a way.
Definitely. I love that. And so I'm already sort of seeing really interesting connections with health and medicine and the climate crisis.
Yeah.
And I know that you're also interested in the climate crisis. And so perhaps you could tell me a bit about when you first, felt interested in learning more about or just taking climate action.
I think this actually came before my interest in medicine. So as a teenager, I went through a phase where I think you suddenly become very aware of who you are in the world and what's happening around you. I don't know, I guess it's part of growing up, and then you realize, oh my god, what are we doing to the world? Sorry, my voice just going already. So I don't know, I think I became interested then because I felt very responsible for what my actions and what other people's actions around me were kind of causing. Living in a first world country, I think we don't realize we actually have the higher, I think it's the highest rates of carbon emissions in a weird way and things like that. So I think I became interested then, and it was something I've always felt I don't know, very conflicting with my life, because you want to make a difference, you want to improve how you're living and everything, but somehow it does seem to be very much in conflict with how you are supposed to live your life. You're just supposed to go off to uni, get a job, get a house, have kids. So I don't know, I've always been very interested, but I think I'm still trying to find the balance between all of the different topics.
It is really difficult and complex. And so your interest in the climate crisis, was that also sort of accompanied by like education, like primary school education or any other kind of, or was that a very independent thing you went through?
I think at the start it probably wasn't. I don't know, at the start it was more probably focused around like renewable energies and kind of agriculture and the food crisis. And then at the end of the day, I don't know, the more I progressed about it and the more like I also taught myself, I realized how essential like education actually is. Like I found I needed to teach myself these things when in reality nobody else had really sat me down and been like, you know, this is what's happening to like the world. Like nobody really teaches those things to you when you're younger, and especially in a way that's like I don't know, this is going off tangent, but it's, I don't know, when you first come to that realization, like I think it's very stressful. It's very like
Yeah.
you should know about the consequences of your actions in a way that you can handle them without it being just like a coming of age kind of like realization of what you're doing to the world kind of thing. So I think education definitely came in, but probably at a later stage. But honestly, at the moment, I think it's essential, and I think it's something we should all be focusing on more. So
Yeah.
even with medicine, like I know education, like prevention is much more important than the treatment, and I think it's the same here.
Yeah, that's such a brilliant way of looking at the climate crisis. And so that actually works perfectly for my next question. And so you'd mentioned this, and honestly, like I hadn't really thought about it as much until you mentioned it in your email and in conversations with the focus group. But this interaction between medicine and learning about medicine and the climate crisis, do you think you could talk a bit more about it? Because I don't think it's like a very obvious thing for most people that they are so intertwined.
No, definitely. I think even for medics, somehow, especially here, like, I don't know, maybe less here in Edinburgh, but definitely in other parts, medicine is seen very much as like an isolated thing. You just go on to your job, you go into the NHS or something else, and that's it for you for life. But in reality, when you start to think about it more, like people's health is like intrinsically related to their environment. And at the moment, we've seen what we're doing to the environment. So I think in reality, like medicine should be one of the professions that are most focused on trying to make a change. Like we've seen how air pollution affects like asthma. We've seen, well, even like with the recent corona pandemic, like would this have happened with, if like, I don't know, if the world was a bit more, I don't know how to explain it, but a bit more like conjoined and working together, and everything that is needed to solve climate change is very much, I don't know, you can see the issues like perpetuating into like our daily lives. And I think it's the same with the environment, like the lack of green spaces relating to obesity and even like mental health as well.
Yeah.
Like it's all these things that the more you look at it, the more you realize there's more links, like allergies. I don't know, I could go on forever, but definitely I think it's very important, and I don't think many people realize it at all. I think we're very much isolated and we think a drug can solve everything, when in reality it should be a much more like kind of societal approach to all these problems as well.
Definitely. And I do like, I was thinking about what you said in the beginning when you were explaining medicine and what you like about it, and the idea that it's holistic and it's everything, and it's not prevention, but I mean, it's not treatment rather, but it's,
Yeah, no, yeah.
You're like, what?
It's like, did I get the right message across?
No, it's not, yeah, it's not treatment, it's not, so I think that's just exactly like the climate crisis. Like, it's not about the solutions, it's also about, I mean, it is completely about.
Yeah, no, but it's much more than that. And especially like, I think both issues are very much related in the way that you don't have just one specific solution for everything. Like, I wish we did, but as doctors, you can see it's so much more complicated. And with the climate change as well. And you need to take into account like the different like stakeholders as well, in a weird way, like the patient, their family, but the same with here, like individuals, their communities, the environment. So I think, yeah, it's all very much related, and the two topics are interconnected all the time.
That's so interesting. And in terms of your actual courses and your modules, are there any modules that cover this, that talk about sustainability?
Well, sustainability specifically, no. Like I hate to say this, but no. And I think it should be very much advocated for. The University of Edinburgh is very good in covering kind of the social aspects of medicine. So we very much prioritize communication and understanding that some diseases are also very like deeply rooted in the community. But no, in terms of sustainability, I think you need to like kind of go above and beyond to search for it. The University of Edinburgh is very good that it has like a sustainability champions network. So there are lots of like opportunities to learn there, but it does need to be in your own time. So not ideal, but it is there.
more deeply embedded in the curriculum.
Yeah, and I think this is an issue that came up when we were doing kind of the oh God, please remind me of the name.
For UNESCO.
Yeah, there we go. It did come across that honestly all topics should have sustainability integrated. It shouldn't be just a random topic that you can do in your spare time. It should be in all subjects.
Yeah, completely agree. And so on that note, you're the president of Student MedAid.
Yeah.
So can you tell me a bit more about what you do and how that position contributes to your journey with sustainability while being a medicine student?
Sure, it's all very much is the interconnection of all these different topics we've been talking about.
Yeah.
So Student MedAid is a student society and charity, originally based at the University of Edinburgh, but now throughout the UK. And we basically collect unwanted and out of date, but still viable medical equipment, and then we redistribute it to under-resourced medical institutions abroad. It was before with medical students on electives, but obviously now because of Corona, less so, but also through like humanitarian health workers and other charities and NGOs. So that's kind of a brief overview of everything we do, but basically we are trying to increase sustainability in the NHS in the short term, whilst also kind of advocating for the long-term impacts that sustainability has on our health, and also kind of on reducing healthcare inequalities abroad and the importance of doing that.
That's so amazing. So it's like it is really those like three pillars of sustainability that you're working with: the social and the environmental and the economic as well.
Yeah, honestly, the more you think about it, I think it's just interconnected. Like all the topics in my life have just collided into one. But no, it's very much related to medicine because the NHS is doing a great job already. So ever since the society was founded in 2008, the NHS has done like amazing work in reducing its waste. And in fact, like sometimes we're able to sit in on meetings at local hospitals, and you can see everybody is very much like very aware of the waste and trying to do everything they can. But our work does show that more can be done as well. And then on the social side, you also have like everybody in the community is also very eager to help. Like we don't realize the amount of waste. So like if you get like an orthopedic boot, or sometimes people get treatments at home, that cannot be given back to the NHS. It's just thrown away, when in reality it can be used elsewhere.
Interesting. So I guess the challenge with this kind of work is that it has to be sanitized, it has to be working, it has to be all sorts of things.
No, we've actually looked into this as well, because obviously at first when I went in, I think as students you always challenge kind of, because you're just new, you've gone into a new thing, you see kind of the overview and you realize there's a problem. But when I first came to Student MedAid, I didn't really, because I was secretary before this, I didn't really realize, but the more work that I've been doing with this, you also do get the ethical considerations and kind of implications that may come with our work. Like, and we have actually been looking into this. So is it ethically kind of, I don't know, how do you say it? Like, is it ethically, like, is it ethical basically for us to actually redistribute like unwanted equipment from here to somewhere else in the world? Like, is that even okay for their communities? But I don't know, our committee did have this discussion, and we were like, at the end of the day, we're not trying to create a need there, we're just trying to supply what we can, and we do think in a way like it would be thrown otherwise, so whatever good can come out of it is good. But we have improved like our ethical imaging policy and things like that to avoid kind of, I don't know, sometimes I feel, especially in sustainability, you mean to do good and sometimes you can do more harm, so I think we're really cautious of that as well. But no, we are working on trying to build all areas of the community, and I think we're focusing much more on outreach recently. So our committee has grown and we're now trying to be a bit more proactive in everything we do. So for example, we had recent crisis in Beirut with the explosion, and we raised awareness of it in social media and actually managed to deliver equipment abroad. So being much more proactive on how we do things.
Wow, that's amazing, and it sounds like absolutely brilliant work, and I'll
Thank you.
follow your work.
No, the logistics are complicated, but I think especially now that we're kind of so more universities throughout the UK are starting to set up their own student MedAids like under our guidance. I think it's very much like, I think the long-term vision here is that there is a network here that can take all this equipment, and it can be much more coordinated rather than just one person driving around or cycling trying to collect equipment. So yeah, no, it's very interesting cause. It's very unique, and I do think
Yeah.
it kind of bridges the gap on a lot of things. Obviously, only short term. I don't think we mean to be here in the long run. Like, we are trying to advocate for the fact that we shouldn't be here, and this shouldn't be a student's job to do this. It should just be integrated into society.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, very much. If anybody wants to hear more about it, there's, I think, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all kinds of social media that you can find us on.
Yeah, I'll definitely follow it, and I'll also share like a link on the website with
that would be great. Thank you.
So you're a medicine student, you're doing stuff with Student Med Aid, which is working with items in hospitals and with healthcare that can be reused. So in the future, how do you see your interest in medicine and sustainability coming into play? So what kind of roles would you be looking for? What kind of position?
Sure, yeah. I don't, very weird to think about the future nowadays, especially with everything going on. I don't know, I've never been one of those people to have like a 5-year or 10-year plan, but I definitely always saw myself kind of perhaps more in a, I don't know, it's very much a dream, but like the World Health Organization or things like that. I think the coordination of public health and that kind of impact on sustainability is very much where I want to go into. And I don't know, I think it's a very moving cause if you can somehow, like, I think everybody in healthcare is doing an amazing job, and there is frontline and obviously work behind the scenes that nobody realizes. But I think a coordination of all these different things would probably be kind of my future vision. And I'm not sure exactly. I think sustainability needs to come in daily life, so in everything you do. So trying to move towards like a plant-based diet, and also trying to recycle, whilst advocating kind of for government change and legislation. And then kind of also, well, I don't know, as a doctor, I would try to encourage all my patients to also be sustainable and do their things in their community.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting position to do it from, to take climate action as a doctor, because you will have
to. Here's a leaflet on how to improve your health and the planet. Yeah, just 2 for 1.
So my last question is, how would you like to see, and we've talked about this a bit, but how would you like to see medicine and higher education teaching of medicine sort of adapt to a changing climate and to help graduates cope in a changing future and an uncertain future?
Sure. I think that's a very interesting question. I haven't really thought of it before. I guess medicine at the moment is very much based on the mechanics, so very much understanding your biology, chemistry, rota learning. I think in the future, obviously those components are still very much important, and you do need to know kind of the essential biology, but I do think we need to move more towards kind of patient-centered approach, so putting patients at the forefront of it and being much more adaptable as doctors to kind of suiting people's needs. So definitely that on the aspect of patients. I think definitely, I've said before and I'll say it again, but sustainability does need to be integrated, and a bit more on how the environment relates to our health and the damages that can come just from air pollution, chemical pollution and things like that. And then, like, I think the combination would be a more holistic approach, so kind of focusing on prevention rather than the cure. And that includes the environment as well, but it also includes much more kind of lifestyle treatments, and also kind of the medical profession being involved in changing the community. So kind of combining all of that and teaching those kind of pillars of health to young students, so that when they go into medicine, they're not shocked, but like it doesn't come as a surprise to them, all these interlinking factors, much more than just learning the body's anatomy and the body's blood vessels and thinking that's it, and that you will go into your office, sign a prescription, and that would be it, when in reality it's so much more than that. I think also, in addition, as a side point, I would like to highlight like the importance of teaching about mental health as well. Like sometimes we're focusing, especially I think when you're like studying, I did A levels or things like that, and you're very much like studying all the biological processes, and you forget that mental health is equally as important as physical health. And I think with sustainability, that's also another topic that's come up, especially in our generation, with higher rates of kind of depression and anxiety.
Yeah.
So kind of very much also focusing on that and the importance of psychiatry and that kind of element of medicine. So yeah, much more basically trying to give a whole overview of pictures and placing a support network, and also increasing, I don't know, a bit of deviation away from sustainability, but in medicine, the way that you do need to kind of increase accessibility to medicine, so that everybody is able to pursue this career if they do want to, and there's no barriers to access.
Yeah. That's brilliant, and I'm very excited to live in a world where you will be a doctor.
Yeah, I think as students you come in with all this energy and, you know, wanting to make a difference and things like that, and then I don't know, it just seems along the way you lose it. So I think it's very important to kind of surround yourself by people and having these initiatives where you can see you're not a weirdo, you know, you're not, it's not just you like on your own. Sometimes I feel like you feel very useless, just like you feel like what you're doing won't make a difference, but like through my work in student med aid and through this, like you can see there's so many more people out there who do the same. So if we all put our effort to it, I am sure something will come out of it. So
I love that. I completely agree. I agree with that.
Thank you so much for having me on here and it was lovely. I feel like I spoke to you all the time and it was some really good conversation, but thank you for having me on here.